You're live.
You're live. Yay.
Is it
Yay.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Oh.
All right. Hi, everybody who's joining us. We are going to get started on this student panel here in about 1 minute. So we're just going to wait for more people to pop in and join us, and then we'll do some introductions. So thank you guys for being here today.
Welcome.
Yes.
It's a good time.
Yes.
So how's your guys' day been?
It's hot.
It is hot.
It's very hot.
Yeah.
It's hot
It's
today.
hot. That's all I got.
I want some P-Whip.
Oh, I do want some people.
P-Whip.
That sounds like really refreshing.
I always forget that they're cash only though, and I walk up and I'm like,
Card.
Yeah, I never
It
had
hurts my
cash
heart.
on me.
I know.
Yeah.
yeah.
Right up an ATM.
All right. So it looks like we have Sean, Sam, and Kirsty saying hey.
Hey.
All right. Okay, so it is 4 o'clock. So thank you everybody for joining us. We are going to go ahead and get started with this University Ambassador student panel. We're going to be doing live Q&A this afternoon. And we have 3 current students here with us today, and they are going to take a minute and introduce themselves. So here we go.
All right. Well, hello, guys. My name is Blake Haynes. I currently serve as the Student Body Vice President, and then I also work here in the Office of Admissions. I will be a senior in the fall, and I study journalism with a minor in pop culture. And I am from Blue Springs, Missouri. So for any of my KC people, you may know where that is, but I'm about 20 minutes outside of the city. So.
Hello. My name is Zach Greer. I am also from the Kansas City area. I'm from Overland Park, Kansas, on the other side of KC. Go Chiefs. I am going to be a senior BFA musical theater major, and we're so excited to have y'all here. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Emily. I'm not from Kansas City. I'm going to be a junior in the fall. I'm double majoring in criminology and religious studies with a minor in sign language. And I'm from Bentonville, Arkansas. And so our lovely moderator, who you guys may have heard behind us, is Kristen Roop. She is one of the assistant directors of admissions here. We love her very deeply. So.
All right, awesome. Well, thanks guys for the little introduction. We do already have a question,
Wow.
question. So the first one is from Brady, and she's asking about the music program. I don't know, Zach, if you want to kind of talk on that. It's not exactly a program, but if you want to give a little info.
Yeah, no, our music department is really, really strong. It is primarily going to be in Ellis Hall. It's a gorgeous building. There's some great recital halls in there. But yeah, something that's really neat about our music department, and I don't know if you're looking at more vocal music or like instrumental, or if you're like orchestra, band, like whatever your music interests may be, is that we have really top-notch faculty who have done all sorts of performances in all of the areas around Springfield, all around the country, even some of them all around the world. There's a lot of great study away experiences and opportunities, I know, for the Department of Music. I know that one of our voice teachers usually leads like a 6 to 8 week excursion in Italy every summer. I know that a lot of our chorales tend to go over there and perform as well. But yeah, it's a phenomenal program. Absolutely. Music.
Okay. So I would like you guys to talk a little bit about your experience choosing a college. Like, what was that like for you? Like, what was the process you went through? Like, did you tour multiple colleges? What were some things that influenced you as you were deciding?
Yeah, I can go first. So as you guys heard, I'm an out-of-state student. And University of Arkansas is actually only like 30 minutes from where my parents live. And I really wanted to branch out and not stay within my own little personal bubble. And my older brother actually was a student here at Missouri State. He graduated last year. And he talked about how Missouri State was great. And I was adamantly, I am not going to go to Missouri State because I'm not going to be Cody Taylor's little sister. Like, I'm going to be my own person. I'm going to go somewhere else. It's not for me. But I went on my tour here and I was like, whatever, fine, I'll just tour, whatever, you know. And I came and I was like, oh my goodness, like this is like the place. Like, which sounds like really silly, but like I felt like at home being a prospective student. Like even I wasn't admitted or anything like that, I still felt like I was like a part of this community and that I could give something to that community. And Springfield is also just like a great place like to live. Love the coffee shops. And so like, that's like perfect thing too. So, really great with Missouri State about the in-state tuition because that price was something that I was really worried about too. And they have worked with me and have worked with countless students for in-state tuition and all that sort of fun stuff. So that was my college choice. So.
As a musical theater major, my story is a little bit different. So I auditioned for the BFA program here, and I auditioned at many other universities and toured a lot of other colleges. And it came down to Missouri State and another school up in Ohio with a really strong musical theater program as well. And kind of ultimately it came down to, do I want to be only 3 hours away from home or do I want to be 12 hours away from home? And I was like, well, I'm very much a homebody, so Missouri State really made sense in terms of, the geography, of how close it is. But, like Emily was saying, the price is pretty unbeatable. It's pretty great. And also the program here is just phenomenal. So that's my personal story of Mo State. And I love the campus. It's gorgeous. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mine are for some varying reasons. So the first one would be when I was a senior, I was actually looking for music programs. So that was the route I was going to go down, which is not what happened. So when I looked for colleges, I was looking at music programs. And as Zach said, ours is really great. And so that was kind of where my heart was with Missouri State at first. But then beyond that also, I am a first-gen student from a single mother household. And so for me, cost was everything. Like they said, and Missouri State has really good pricing. They're also really good about financial aid as well as scholarships. So for me, it just made a lot of sense in that way. But then lastly, also, I think we have the perfect size campus. And I always say this on my tours as well, both physically and student body wise, because going around campus, it's honestly kind of just like one big loop. It's super easy to navigate. But then as far as people go, I always say that I think there's enough people where you can definitely get to know as many friends and have as many friends as you want. But there's also enough people where if you don't want to know everyone, you definitely don't have to.
Yes.
But then beyond that also, I mean, there's just so many cool opportunities that the university offers. And I know for a fact that had I gone to maybe a bigger university per se, those same opportunities may have not been presented. And I mean, I don't know, just like the journey I've had here the last 3 years, like that beats any other option I would have had. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. So you talked a little bit about like the search process,
Mhm.
but what about your transition from high school to college? Like, what was that like? Like, did you feel like it was easy? What were some things that maybe made it easier for you, or any challenges you experienced, and advice that you would give to students who would be in that place too?
yeah, so I can start this time. I would say leaving family was definitely more challenging than I thought it would be. So that was something I kind of had to brace myself for. A funny story I always share is that when my mom helped me move in and she left, I kind of just like waved by and I was like, whatever, I don't care. But then about a month and a half in after family weekend, I bawled my eyes out when she left because I didn't want my mom to leave. And so I always just think it's funny how at the beginning I was like, okay, bye. And then a month and a half in, I was like, actually, just kidding. Can you just stay here with me? But then I remember the one thing that really helped was when I was crying and my mom left, I called her and she was like, well, do you want to come home? And I was like, oh no. And so then I was like, well, I guess I have to stay. But I will say, I think beyond that, classes are definitely a little bit more challenging. And I don't think that it's like super hard per se. I think it's the dynamic of it that shifts. A lot of our gen ed classes here are very test-based, and for myself, I'm not a great test taker. So that was kind of a different kind of a learning environment that I had to adjust to. But I will say that I think here, once you get up into your major courses, which will primarily probably be your third and fourth year, but maybe your second year also, I think that things get a lot easier and a lot more smoother because you really enjoy what you're in, or at least that's the goal. And so you enjoy going to those classes and you enjoy what you're learning about, and it's super interesting to you. And so I think you tend to be a little more successful in those. So I guess that's kind of my transition stories.
I mean, mine's kind of similar. As I said, I'm definitely a homebody. I love my mom, my dad, my little brother more than anything. And I think a really good piece of advice that I got going into college and like, your first couple weeks is that, and everybody's different, but, you should try to not go home and visit your family until your university feels like home. And that was something, I did not take that advice. I was like, nope, first week I'm going home. I miss them too much.
I definitely did
I'm glad that
that.
we're on the same page. But yeah, just try to, allow yourself to feel whatever homesickness you're feeling. And I do think that it's kind of interesting where they put family weekend because it kind of is in the best time when everyone's starting to get really homesick. So it's kind of like a perfect placement for it. But we have great technology, kind of like we're doing the live Q&A right now. Zoom, FaceTime, Skype, those are my best friends. My laptop, my phone, talking to my parents, my brother. But also, another big transitional thing was kind of like Blake was saying, just the difficulty level, I would say, of the classes. Not that high school was necessarily easy, but like I feel like there's definitely more stakes in college. So just kind of like prepare yourself that, it might take a little while. And you may really fail a first test in each class. Lord knows I have. But that,
100%.
yep. But no, that's a completely normal thing. Yeah.
So mine is a little bit different. I actually graduated high school year early, so I came to college when I was 17. And I still consider myself to be a baby.
I said overachiever.
I know. But so I definitely did not take the advice of, like Zach said, to not go home. I literally went home the second weekend of school. And I relied too much, I think, on my parents because it was every single day I was calling my mom 6 or 7 times to talk about, I ate chicken nuggets in the dining hall today. Like, not that that's bad, but she's like, Emily, calm down, like stop with the phone calls. Like it's getting a little bit too much. And I think that I was just very scared to put myself out there because I was so young and I didn't want people to like, oh, she's, a baby. Like, what is she doing? What's she doing in college? But I really found that the opportunities for student organizations and my fraternity and sorority life organization that I'm involved in really helped me branch out. And they required me to be at events on the weekends. So I couldn't really go home, and making those friends through those organizations really helped me be like, oh, like, hey, like, so-and-so wants to hang out on Friday night. Like, Mom, sorry, I can't come home. You know what I mean? And all that sort of stuff. And I eventually have made my best friends in different organizations. And I think that's one thing that's like really great about Missouri State. There's a lot of great things about Missouri State, but one of the best things is that there's so many different opportunities for students to get involved. Like even like this, like the craziest of things, like my older brother was in Arabic club, you know what I mean? But like, there's so many things and organizations that students can get involved in to where you feel like you have that home away from home, like Zach was talking about. And towards the middle of my first semester freshman year, I definitely started to develop those connections and all that with my faculty advisor for my majors and my friends and all that sort of stuff, to where I was like, oh, I don't want to go home anymore. You know what I mean? Like Missouri State is now my home. So.
Yeah, another thing I thought of though is I think all three of us would agree on this, but I think that you grow on a personal level also so much in that transition, but then also like being able to look back now in the last 3 years, I'm like, whoa. And I think a lot of it stems from probably most importantly in your first year, if you allow yourself to just like fall on your face sometimes and just fail and just kind of pick yourself back up and just like let it go, but then also kind of lean into what's happening around you and lean into the college experience, I think that changes everything. And so it's like, I think academic aside and all that kind of stuff, it's like, I think you grow so much and you learn so much about yourself as like a human being and like how you work as a person that you never even think about. So I think it's like just the general life lessons you learn also are super, super beneficial. Absolutely.
All right, so we have a few student submitted questions, and I will say, Brady, I'm gonna come back to yours, but I'm gonna jump to Parsi's question really fast. She's asking, I'm assuming you all lived in the dorms at some point, and what was that like for you? So I know you guys have had different experiences, like different types of residence halls, like suite style versus community style. So if you don't care, just like tell us which building you lived in and what that process is like. Maybe you got a random roommate or you picked your roommate. Just a little bit of that, please.
Sure, yeah. I lived, we're all just kind of like, who's gonna go first? I lived in Woods House, which is one of the community style residence halls on campus. I will say that I lived there pre-renovation, and not that it was bad beforehand, but it is really nice now. Kind of wish I, would have waited a year. I don't know. But no, it was really good overall. I ended up living with my best friend from high school. We were like, let's go to Missouri State together. Let's try this thing out. And it ended up being really good. But yeah, overall, I really like how, especially in community style residence halls, as a college student in general, you're going to be pretty busy. So you don't really think about different things like toilet paper or paper towels or, cleaning the hair out of the drain. Lovely. Normal, I guess, home owning things. And what's really nice about our community style residence halls is that the community restrooms are cleaned by a full-time custodial staff, so you don't need to worry about that kind of stuff. So I really liked that. But yeah, it was just really a good overall experience. You got to meet a lot of different people living on my floor that I wouldn't have ordinarily gotten to interact with, especially as a musical theater major. We're kind of doing our own thing for the most part, but to get to meet, a really great guy on my floor who was an economics major, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. Just interact with other people, kind of a real part of the college experience. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I
lived in Wells House, which is one of our other community styles. And I had a random roommate, but she never showed up. So I had a private room to myself, which you think is really nice, but I got really lonely. And I'll full on admit that. So what I did to make myself not feel as lonely is I would prop my door open anytime I would be in there. And I would have people walk in and hang out. And I had a Keurig. And so my room was like the room to get hot chocolate at, because I had the huge hot chocolate maker, the little mini marshmallows. So everybody's always kind of in my room, and we were all hanging out, and my room was right next to the RA's room. And Whitney, who she's the best, me and her became really close, actually really close friends, and we would watch different movies and all that sort of stuff, hang out, because she also didn't have a roommate. So, RAs don't have roommates, but, both living by ourselves kind of. And so we kind of leaned on each other. And pretty crazy fact, we learned after a couple months of her being my RA, she's actually from my hometown in Bentonville, Arkansas. Which I didn't know that. And she also saved my life by giving me an EpiPen one day when I had a really bad allergic to allergy to a medication. And so I think that I was placed in Wells House, room 305 for a reason. And it was definitely the best thing and best experience I've had. And if I could live in the residence halls again, I 100% would. You get your food made for you. You don't have to pay utilities and all that. You get to hang out with all of your 40 best friends on your floor, and you get your bathrooms cleaned for you, which as an adult, you don't think how much toilet paper actually costs until you're buying it. And it's this is actually kind of expensive. So I loved my experience in my residence hall. So
yeah. Just for clarification for our students, an RA is a resident assistant. So that is an older student who lives on your floor with you and kind of manages it, but they're also there to just kind of help you through the year. They're kind of a mentor to you if you need that. But also just if anything's happening in your room or anything, you can always go to them. They're a great resource. So I lived in Hutchins' house. So Hutchins is typically our 2 or 4 person style suites. Mine was a 4 person. I did the random roommate experience, and mine did show up, unlike Emily's. But no, I really enjoyed my experience with my random roommate. We were from completely different hometowns. We were pretty different people, honestly, too. But we got along really well. We were really close throughout the year. I always tell these guys we even ended up going on a vacation together that summer, which was always kind of fun. So, I think it's a great experience. I think that moving into the residence hall can definitely be a little scary at first, thinking about leaving home, thinking about living with people you don't know. But really and truly, I feel like most people end up having a pretty successful story out of it. And also, I think a common thing we get asked is where do you go after your first year kind of thing? And I think it's completely up to you. I think all of us moved off after our first year. But we do have a lot of students that will stay on. And I think there's a lot of benefits to staying on campus. Like Emily said, walking proximity for everything, food's cooked for you, and so it's there's a lot of great aspects of staying on campus as well. I think it's just a complete personal choice there. So
yeah, I really miss being able to roll out of bed at 7:55 and still make it to my 8 a.m. on time. I can't do that.
Okay, well, guys, I'm going to combine a few questions because we've got a lot of them coming in. I'm really excited. But Brady had asked a little while ago, and he said, I've never been to Springfield or MSU. What are some fun things to do while studying there? And Jake had also asked, what are some things to do in Springfield? So that's a common theme. Can you guys talk a little bit about that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll start if you guys want.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my biggest piece of advice always with Springfield is give it a chance when you first get here. Because I don't think I did my first year. I think that's pretty common with a lot of our students here, but I think Springfield actually has so much to offer. It's a big kind of like nature outdoorsy area being here in the Ozarks. So if you're into like hiking and walking or like water stuff like kayaking or stuff like that, this is the place to be. Really, Northern Arkansas is right there also. But yeah, like Emily said earlier, there's a great coffee shop scene. There's a lot of great shopping as well. There's a lot of really great local food. So I would say that's probably what I do most often myself. But yeah, I would say give it a chance earlier on and you'll see that there's more to Springfield than the parameters outside of the university. So
I'm a huge movie fan. A lot of great movie theaters here. I don't know if you know what an Alamo Draft House is, but we have an Alamo here, and it's like a fork and screen basically. Like they will wait on you during the movie, bring you your food. Has forever changed the game for me.
It's great.
Yeah, a lot of great movie theaters. We have the Moxie movie theater, which is like our like little art house theater. Love it so much. But we have, as a theater major, there's a couple really nice theaters here. We have Springfield Little Theater, Springfield Contemporary Theater. They do a lot of great productions throughout the year that students are welcomed and encouraged to audition for, and in the Springfield community. We also have the Galois Theater, which is really nice. Oftentimes different touring like performances and whatnot will happen there. But yeah, downtown is really popping. There's a lot of nice culture that's kind of been like going into the downtown area these last few years, and it's really starting to boom with some awesome what am I trying to say? Like events and experiences happening around downtown. But yeah, it's kind of like Blake said, just don't be afraid to like give it a shot, because like being from KC, I was definitely kind of like, okay, I'm used to like a big city, like this isn't going to be like anything, but it's a lot bigger than I thought. And I was like, wow, I was like, this is pretty cool.
It's pretty fun. I love to read books, and like that's like one of my favorite things to do besides like vintage thrift shopping. And that is like one thing that like Bentonville like really doesn't have, is like all the amount of thrift stores and like amazing bookstores that are not like big bookstore chains around here. Downtown is definitely like, you hear people talking about it all the time, but like that's definitely like my favorite place to be at if I'm not on campus, because you can go get your coffee at this little place and then go walk and then go thrift shop for a little bit and then go to a bookstore. And that's just like some of my favorite stuff to do. And also like our close proximity to Branson. And I take after my mother and love coupon shopping. And so we have the Landing, which is like the outlet mall, which is like a great place if you want to drop some hard cash. But if you are interested in going to do that, and you can make a weekend trip out of going to Branson with your friends. And it's really fun. It's a lot of great stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, even just like weekend trip wise, we're kind of in like the center of everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like St. Louis is 3 hours, KC's 2, Branson's right there, Little Rock's like 4 hours away, Tulsa's 2 hours away. So like
Lake
all these
of the
big
Ozarks.
cities, if you wanted to go and like kind of get more of that big city vibe, you could definitely do that with some friends as well.
Yeah.
But another advice I was just thinking of when you were talking about it is like, I would try and steer away from comparing your hometown to Springfield, because then I think that like leaves you with a more negative mindset about it. Because like Zach said, I am just obsessed with Kansas City. I mean, it's my home, but also I just love our downtown. But it's really not comparable to Springfield because they're very different towns, the way they're set up and the way they are. So I would say like give it a chance and think of them differently because they're not the same. So
We also have the Springfield Cardinals, which is St. Louis Cardinals minor league team. They play like literally like 2 blocks north of campus. Really cool. Those games are a ton of fun. Go check them out for sure.
Yes.
Okay, so I am going to ask a couple of questions that are similar again. So Mary had asked, what was one thing you guys did to make yourselves feel at home at Missouri State? And Sydney had asked, was it hard to make new friends? Do you have any tips on how to build connections with new people when you're a little nervous? So can you talk a little bit about that, those 2 things?
I mean, I can say that I struggled a lot making friends because I had like a problem putting myself out there. And something that like I really utilized on campus was our on-campus counseling center. And I still use them to this day. Shout out Tammy, love her to death. She's the best.
Hi, Anthony. Love you.
It's a great place to go, like, to talk about, obviously talk about your feelings, but like talking to Tammy gave me confidence to put myself out there. In high school, I was very much like, not really like, I had my friend group, but like didn't really like branch out, and like I wouldn't just see a group of people and immediately walk up and start talking to them. And that has forever changed since coming to college. I have realized that like my like high school years like really don't define who I am, and my college experience is what I want it to be, and I can make it what I want it to be. And that's just something that I love about coming to college, is like you're able to basically like not start new, but like put yourself out there and be a new person if you want. And I think that that's like my biggest thing and has helped me grow. Like once I realized that like, you know, like, so what if I didn't have a whole lot of friends in high school? I can have a ton of friends in college if I want. And now I do, like, you know, and being like, I go back to the organization thing, all the different organizations, that is going to be your go-to. There's, I just can't even, there's just so many different crazy ones that you can like join and hang out and have fun with your friends. And it's just, there's just so many great opportunities for you to get involved on campus, whether it be on campus employment, your residence life, all that sort of stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, really everything Emily said is exactly spot on. Like college is a really just awesome time to not necessarily like start over, but kind of like reinvent yourself or like add on to the person that's already there, which is really awesome. You know, in the BFA programs, what's really nice that they do is that they send us each other's like emails and contact information over the summer. So like we already like get to know each other. We had, you know, group me and like Facebook groups, like we had each other on Snapchats, like we got talking in there. But, you know, like Emily was saying, there's over 375 clubs and activities here. I know that it is probably going to look a little different for this coming fall, but there's a lot of great welcome weekend events. There's always a bunch of really cool kind of like get to know you activities that happen. And especially like, you know, my RA on my floor in Woods was kind of like my first friend, you know, apart from my roommate whom I already knew coming in from high school. But your RA, I like to say, is kind of like a built-in first friend for you. Because they will connect you with not only everyone else on your floor, and then you have like, you know, anywhere from like, you know, 40 to, I don't know, 150 other people, like friends right there on your floor, but they also kind of can give you like a nice little preview of different events happening around campus. You know, like I know that my RA freshman year, you know, would organize different events to go to like the pool, like in the rec center, or, you know, hey, like let's all go, you know, bring a couple bucks, let's go down to Pineapple Whip, which is the best place.
It's so good. That's the best place about Springfield. I'm sorry.
It really is. Yeah, we forgot to mention that. P-Whip, the best. Pineapple Whip, incredible. But yeah, your RA, I think, you know, is really kind of going to be a really useful, not only just friend and confidant to have, but they can kind of connect you with a bunch of different things happening around campus. So definitely talk to them, and they will definitely be able to help get you going. Yeah.
They also can save your life if you're in an emergency, and they'll give you an EpiPen and call an ambulance. So
they'll give you an EpiPen.
They'll give you an EpiPen.
I would say on like the home piece part of it, what I did was like I brought 2 things from my room at home and like put them in my residence hall. That kind of made me feel like a little more comfortable. So like for me, there's this pillow I always have to sleep with. It's just like this weird thing I've always had. So like I brought that because I was like, okay, that will make me feel more comfortable in like the residence hall sleeping there because it's a new space for me. But as far as like meeting people goes, I would say take advantage of the situations and opportunities you're put in. I think that a lot of students tend to not do that. And I think that the more open-minded you are from the get-go, the more helpful it is. For example, SOURCE, our summer orientation that all of our students are required to attend prior to attending in the fall. I found a lot of like comfort in the people that were in my SOAR group coming into my first semester because a lot of the times at SOAR, especially if you know your major, you're put into a group with kids that you'll likely have at least one class with in the fall. So for me, it was like seeing them and already building that relationship was really helpful. I'd also say within your classes alone, you can always make friends too. Like I'm kind of just a chatty person. So I would always like talk to the person next to me, you know, and just get to know them. And if they weren't very responsive, you know, you just move on. There's so many other people. But for me, that was really helpful. And even like I was saying in your major classes, I think that was helpful too, because then you found repetition in those kids that were having those classes with you. And then it was more comfortable to go to class and you had those people you can lean on, but also hang out with outside of the classroom. So yeah, I would say just stay open-minded about anyone and everyone you can meet. I think that all of us can agree that we meet friends in kind of the weirdest situations here in college, whether it be like you're in line together at Chick-fil-A, or like I said, you have SOAR together, you know, or like maybe you're just walking and someone drops something or something, you know, like it's the most random stuff. And so I really truly think you can meet anyone in any kind of situation that you're put in, which is really beneficial. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
All right, so I am going to ask you guys, and I know Blake and Emily, your high schools are a little bit bigger, but you guys have talked with a lot of students, like being tour guides who are from smaller areas. So Lee had asked, what is some good advice for transfer students who are coming in from smaller colleges? I think that's also relevant for students, high school students coming in from a smaller town. And you don't all have to answer, but if you have some advice, go ahead and share it.
I would say I have given tour students who have been nervous about the class size, but really it's like 22 students to one professor or faculty member, and that's not even if they have a graduate assistant or teacher's assistant. And the higher up you get in your more major specific courses, the lesser number of people are usually going to be in your class. Like for me, religious studies, there's not a whole lot of people who are in those majors or in that major. And I had a class last semester with 8 people in the class. And I would just like go back to the open-mindedness thing. Like, you know, like you never know who you're going to meet in these classes. And the gen eds do kind of stink a little bit because, you know, they are sometimes larger
class sizes.
Larger class sizes.
Halls.
Yes, lecture halls and that sort of stuff. But the more, like I said, the more major specific, it's just those are going to be your smaller class sizes. I can't speak today. Sorry.
Yeah, for sure. I would say also with like the academic side of it, every professor is required to have office hours. So if that's something you're worried about, because maybe you were like more personal with your professor from a previous college or a teacher from high school or something like that, they are required to have those hours. And honestly, most of the time they're pretty underutilized. So by you going, like the professor will really appreciate that and you'll grow and you'll feel more comfortable in their classroom. But as far as just like people goes, I would say utilize the resources and people that are kind of there for you. So once again, like utilizing the RA or like utilizing, you know, different campus organizations to meet or different campus offices we have. Also the counseling center, like if you have to find yourself there, there's no judgment there. The counselor center is great. It's also completely free for students to use. So you literally have to call ahead, set up an appointment and go on the day that you set up. So yeah, I would say it's hard because we did come from really big high schools. I mean, I had 536 kids in my graduating class. So coming here, it was like not a big deal. But yeah, I would say stay open-minded. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I also think there was something that you said earlier about, you know, yes, this is a large population, but I think the compact campus really kind of helps, especially, you know, I did go to a pretty decent sized high school. I think there was like 350 people in my graduating class, something like that. But, you know, kind of a joke I heard like my first week, especially during like welcome weekend when like literally everybody's there like participating and whatnot. Someone said, hey, look at those people. You'll probably never see half of them again. And it's, you know, true because like depending on your class schedules and whatnot, like, you know, there's some people like I have seen, you know, at least once a week, every week since freshman year. And I just don't know who they are, but like, I recognize them. I'm like, oh, I know this person, but like, I don't know them. And then, there's also going to be people that you see once and you just don't really ever see them again. And that's, I mean, I don't know if that brings comfort. I hope it does. But yeah, in terms of class sizes, they're pretty good. Yeah.
I know I came like over 1,000, like 1,100 people are my graduating class. So big sizes really don't bother me.
So I was the small high school.
Yeah, you were the small high school. But so I know whenever I went to my psychology class, it's Psych 121, Introduction to Psychology. It's a general education class, so a lot of students take it. I was really worried about my grades slacking in the class because I couldn't have a personal connection to the professor. And like Blake said, I really utilized the office hours. Right after the very first day of class, I went up and introduced myself. And I went to our office hours the first week. And I also really utilized the Bear Claw, which is like totally underrated. Bear Claw is our free tutoring center for all students on our campus. I used it for my psychology class when I was just like, I'm really not sure if I fully grasp this topic of, I can't remember what it is because it's all, it's been almost 2 years ago. I don't really remember anything about that. But I went there and that person sat me down, taught me all that sort of stuff. And they really helped me reassure. It's like, just because there's a lot of people in my class doesn't mean I can't do well in the class. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I still use it for like my upper division courses. Like I was in a religion and science class and I was a little worried about it. So I was like, hey, religion person, tutor, help me, please. And they helped me out. So, that's a great place I always try to plug because I know a lot of people are afraid to ask for help, especially when it comes from like, oh, in high school, I made straight A's and, I never had to study. And, you get to college and it's like, oh, classes are actually kind of hard, I definitely had that realization.
Absolutely.
So that's my big thing about if you're big classes, definitely utilize professor office hours and bear cloth. So
Yeah, and even socially, like with the transfer student, I know like most time in the fall, which once again, I don't know what this looks like this fall, but a lot of times they'll do like a transfer student social where you can go and meet other transfer students and meet staff that will be there for you. And like Emily said, there's so many student organizations and like there's small ones also, or even it takes like, I think 3 or 4 friends and a advisor, a staff member from the university that you like to make your own organization if that's something you're interested in too. So I think that you will definitely find your people.
Yeah.
And I think remind yourself that it may not happen the first day and that's okay. But you'll definitely find your people. And if you don't, you can come find me on campus and tell me I was
hit
wrong.
us up. We're cool.
Yeah, you
We'll be your
can't.
friend.
I'm
You can't miss
tall,
him.
red hair. You cannot miss
Oh, sorry, I'm laughing over here. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a little curveball. Melissa had asked, what were some of the challenges of having to go fully online when COVID hit? So can you talk a little bit about
I got a lot of
if
those.
you experienced challenges and what you did to overcome those to still have a successful semester?
Yeah, there's a reason I'm a musical theater major. I thrive off of like this human interaction, and that was really tough. I do think, and I mean, I commend my professors and really the university, like as a whole, for like being able to adapt so quickly.
Yeah.
I think that was truly incredible, especially because no one alive today has ever experienced anything like this. So like everybody's kind of making it up as they go along, and I think once we all kind of had that understanding, we were like, okay, it's going to be okay. I can't speak for all of the professors, but I know that many of my professors were like, look, we know that this is happening. Due dates, don't worry about them. Your health, your safety is the number one concern. So if you are feeling unwell, if a family member is feeling unwell, you take care of yourself first. This can come secondary. And I really appreciated that. And I also think that there were large benefits to having Zoom meetings with classes, especially I'm a member of a theater troupe here on campus called Giving Voice, and we are all very close to one another. So not having our weekly class meeting was very, very hard, but we had weekly Zoom sessions. So we got to see one another, chat with each other, joke around, have fun. And that just really, really helped. And also just kind of giving yourself a break and going like, hey, like I said, we're all making this up as we go along. Nobody has the answers and nobody's going to be perfect. And I think once, I realized that was a big thing for me, just to kind of take a breath and go, hey, it's okay. I think everything just it was easier after that. But yeah.
I would say it was definitely challenging. I think that anyone that say it wasn't probably didn't do the online part of it. But genuinely, I will say that we thought it was challenging, but so did the professors. So with that, I mean, we were thrown a curveball just as much as they were. So I think they were very good about working with all students. One of my classes that actually kind of saved me going online, if I'm really speaking my truth, because I was definitely headed to that fail stage, and I finished with an A. So, maybe that was the one plus of it. I don't know. But no, I will say, I think time management was really hard. I think that, and we'll probably all agree on this, but I think that I took for granted physically having to go to class. I think I complained about it so much that I realized I was like, whoa, okay, actually I would do anything to go back into the classroom. So I think time management was really challenging, but I think that once you got into your groove, you kind of figured it out. But also, like we've been saying, I think the professors were really understanding. I mean, they sent me emails constantly that were like, if you need more time, if this doesn't work for you, let me know. I know this is something we're all working through. So yeah, it was hard, but I think it was definitely doable. And much like Zach, I am journalism, and so all my classes this last spring were practical. So we were doing like a newscast and going out to the community and doing news packages. So doing that online was pretty much non-existent. So that was definitely hard, but it was doable. And yeah, I mean, we worked it out. So
yeah, I lucked out. I mean, not lucked out, but half of my courses were already online because a lot of the criminology classes are online based. But my 2 religion classes that I was really sad that weren't in person because I had become so close to all the people in my class. We all had our Zoom class. We had basically Zoom meetings when class would be in session. And another great thing I loved that some of my professors did was have available office hours through Zoom. They also gave us phone numbers to call if we had any questions. Because, you know, sometimes email, you can't really express like your like true concerns, like I'm really stressed out about this, or, you know, stuff like that. And so having the ability to be able to call into, you know, like 1 to 2 o'clock on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you know what I mean? I don't really remember when the office hours were, but the ability to have that as an option was really great. Especially during finals week, I was really stressed out because a lot of stuff was due like on a Wednesday. And, you know, we're all used to having finals like on a Monday, you know, like they're all spread out, whereas opposed to all of them are being due on one day. It was a lot. And living at home was also a lot. And so being able to go to those professors and ask those questions about, hey, here's a study guide. I was kind of worried about this. Even though we weren't in person, I still had the contact and was able to contact with them. So,
sure.
But basically to reiterate what they've all said, it's like we all had to adapt to like this crazy global pandemic going on that we all like were joking about when we all went on spring break. And then like that Thursday is spring break, it's like, oh no, we're not going to be in class again. It's been really reassuring to know that like our professors have our backs and that they like do care about us. And that was just so much like reassured whenever all this happened. It's like, you know, I knew that when I have been a student before, but like having that ability to be like, hey, like I know if your family member's sick or if you don't think you can make this due date at Friday at 11:59, you don't worry about it. You email me when you can, you know what I mean? And that was just something that I'm so grateful for. So yeah.
All right. So we do still have a lot of questions.
Okay,
to go through, and I want to try to get through all
Sorry.
of them.
We
No,
love
you
to
guys
talk.
are doing great.
We love to talk.
But maybe I'll have 2 of you.
Okay.
answer
Sure.
the rest of the questions. So Zachary is asking, what is the best way to get involved in clubs, and is there a week dedicated to joining them?
Good name, Zachary.
So great question. This is going to look different this fall for sure. So I don't even know that we're 100% sure what that looks like yet. I think the easiest way is whatever is offered by the university as far as like, I know like in the past we've done like involvement fairs in the PSU where they'll take our student union, where they'll take like turns going through like different student organizations. So you can walk through the hallway of the PSU and kind of get to know different student organizations. Also, typically the weekend that students move in, there's some kind of like getting to know the organizations fair. And I think they're still planning on doing that. It just may look a little different. So I'd say that's the easiest, fastest, and most accessible way to get involved. But beyond that, you also have access to a page called Campus Link. Once you have your own student account, and that actually has every single student organization offered on the campus. It gives you, they each have their own page, like contact information and like detailed about what they do. It probably even gives like their social media maybe, so you can go check out those pages as well. So I would say that's probably the easiest way to do it. Yeah.
Just because there's a whole lot of uncertainty going on in the fall. So yeah.
Yeah, I would say that, I think. Yeah.
Great. All right. So Mary has asked, what would be one thing you would recommend for incoming students that they would need for their dorm? So I guess I'm going to rephrase that. You had to pick one thing that you had to have with you to bring. What would that be?
Command hooks. Just invest right now. They're so good.
A Keurig, because I don't want to spend $5 on coffee every single day for multiple coffees because I drink coffee all the time. So definitely a Keurig or a coffee pot, but make sure it's auto shut off. Has to be auto shut off.
All right, Blake, what's yours?
I would have said coffee also, but because Emily said it, I'll say if you're a sweater like me, bring a fan, because it was pretty hot at night and I sweat really, really bad at night without a fan. So having that was really, really nice.
Very good. All right. So we have Shoshana asking, what is the FSLC like?
Oh,
So maybe speak to that if you're part of one of those organizations.
Yes.
you want to
And
start?
what FSL
Sure.
is.
So FSL is Fraternity and Sorority Life. I am actively involved in a social sorority on our campus. I joined as a freshman. I went through primary recruitment, which is going to look a lot different in the fall this fall, but it's going to be primarily online, like through like Zoom chats and stuff like that. But there are many different fraternities to join, and I think there are 9 sororities. We have 1 local sorority, which means that sorority is only on our Missouri State campus. We're supposed to have 8 national, which means they're all over the world, basically. And I don't know the exact number of fraternities, but it's like upwards of 20 something fraternities. It changes all the time. Yeah, there's a lot of them to join, but I think it's a great place to join, or a great organization to join. About 13% of our campus or students are involved in it. So it's definitely a lot smaller than a lot of like these bigger Big Ten schools where you hear it's like 60 to 70% of student body is involved in fraternity and sorority life. So I think that is a great positive aspect of it, because I've been able to make so many close connections and friends through student body, but also through faculty advisors and working through different avenues and being on different like judicial boards and all sorts of different things that I've worked with. But I love it. I can't recommend it more, but if that's not your thing, definitely you don't have to feel like you have to put yourself out there to join it. Because I have made plenty of friends outside of fraternity and sorority life, much like in university ambassadors. That's how I've made the majority of my friends, and they're all great people. So, but it's definitely been a very large portion and has impacted my college life a lot. So.
Yeah, so I'm involved in a social fraternity, and I would say there is a lot of benefits to it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one, the people you meet are great, but then also beyond that, I mean, like Emily said, a lot of the groups are kind of at a national level also, so you get to meet people maybe in your field or alumni that can kind of help you get in the door, really, just because of the similar connection you have there. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that there's benefits to any group. Like for me personally, I really do love my social fraternity, and some of the people that I met my freshman year kind of are the reason that I got to where I am today, leadership wise with the university. But I think that's doable in any group. Yeah, I think it was just the guys I met just kind of worked with me. We clicked really well. So yeah, I'd say it's definitely beneficial, but it's also not for everyone, I would say also. So once again, there's so many student organizations that you can get involved with and get plugged in, that if fraternity and sorority life is for you, then awesome. But if not, like Zach is not involved in our fraternity and sorority life.
And he's killing it. So
yeah. And Zach's been on like every show that the university offers. So there's definitely a lot of ways to get involved and get plugged in and meet people just as fast as a fraternity or sorority. So
Yeah, that's good stuff. All right, so Sydney is asking, what advice do you have on not knowing where anything is on campus?
There is an app on your phone that you can download the map to, because I've had a class in Pummel Hall and I had never heard of Pummel Hall. I don't know. I was like, it's by the football stadium. What do you mean? Like, I don't see a building that's by the football stadium. And that map literally pinpointed me where to go. It also shows you bear line routes, which are a free shuttle campus. It shows you when they're going to show up, where you're going to be at. Also, don't be afraid to ask people. Like, that's my big thing. It's like, people on campus are so much more nicer than you think they're going to be. Like, they hold doors open for you. If you are like, I have no earthly idea where I'm at, and I'm trying to go to McDonald 305. I don't even know if that's a real number in McDonald Hall. 203. Okay, McDonald 203. You literally just go up to anybody and be like, hey, like, do you happen to know where McDonald Arena is? And they would happily point you in any direction, because it's like, we're all confused. We all are college students that have no idea what's going on. So everybody is willing to help with everybody. So
yeah, especially if they don't have their headphones in.
Especially if they don't have their headphones.
Because then they can definitely hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I also want to take a minute just real quick and thank our in the chat moderators. So they are doing a great job answering some of these questions. So thank you guys who are watching and hanging with us as we get to your question, even if it was up a little further in the chat. But definitely thanks to our in the chat moderators answering those questions. But I do have another question for you guys. So Luke asked, what is the security like for residence halls and for the individual rooms?
It's a great question, yeah. So a really nice safety feature about all of our residence halls here on campus is that after 7 p.m., every residence hall on campus locks. So you will need to scan basically like a little white scanning card that you'll get when you move in. You'll have to scan it to unlock the building and to make your way up into your room then. And then after 9 p.m., you have to show the worker at the front desk your Bear Pass. And when you move in, once you get your Bear Pass, you'll have a little sticker that indicates which residence hall you live in. And basically, it's just to verify that you are who you say you are, that you do live there. Just a nice way of making sure that nobody is where they're not supposed to be, especially in, say, Blair Shannon, where there is oftentimes a lot of foot traffic because of the dining hall right there on the main floor, and it's such a large lobby and elevators going up and down. That's an excellent safety feature that we have. About the university and with residence halls, we also have great campus security and dispatch of Springfield Police Department very close nearby. So if at any point you are, say leaving a class late at night and it's dark and maybe you don't necessarily want to walk to your car by yourself, you can call campus security at any time and be like, hey, will you escort me to my car? And they will be there, no questions asked. They're happy to help. But yeah, they're really excellent.
I've used that safe walk program before, walking from Bear Park North, which is one of our parking garages. And within a couple minutes, the officer was there and walked me back to my residence hall and made sure I got into residence hall before he left. And they really do prioritize camp. Like as a female, I can say sometimes walking around by myself, I feel unsafe, but I've never felt unsafe on this campus. Like at any point in time, because it's like they're always the blue light poles, which are like they've got like the big, they also emit a really loud sound.
Big
so
emergency
yes,
poles, yeah.
And so if you ever feel unsafe or anything like that, you can always go and press the button, and it notifies the police that the button is pressed, and they send an officer to that location. And back to what Zach said about the safe walk program, I think that is just one of like the best things ever to be invented, because anybody can feel unsafe at night, and so having that available for us to use is really great. So.
Yeah, the only other thing I would add is with the kind of security piece at night, after 9 or 10 p.m., whatever it is, it's not to say that you can't get in the building if you don't live there, but there's a protocol to it. So what they do is basically if you're walking in and you don't live there, your friend has to come down and check you in. And so they can like track that you're in the building. And if your friend can't check you in, then you have to leave, is how it works. So you can go in the building and hang out with your friend or whatever that looks like. But there's like a check-in process, so they're kind of knowing who's in the building and stuff like that. Yeah.
All right, so Sydney has another question. She asked, do you recommend online classes for classes that might be more difficult for you? And you guys might not be the recommending experts, but like, have you done that? Like, do you have any friends who've done that? Like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say for sure, if that's an easier route for you. A personal story, my freshman year, my first semester, I took our political science, like general education course. It was really hard for me. I don't know why. I just really struggled to finish with the D. But I know friends that took it online and found it much easier. And so I personally would say if there's like, your major's a little different. It really depends on what department you're in. But with the general education courses, so in your first and second years, if there's like a class that you're like, I don't really know how I'm going to do in this, like it might be more difficult. Honestly, sometimes it's easier online, in my opinion. And also it just works a little differently. And so I would definitely recommend it. Like, I mean, obviously outside of like Corona season, then, most of the time, like a lot of your classes would be seated. But yeah, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say that it's really personal preference. If it's like, I do this and it's probably not the best thing to do, but if I enjoy the subject, I will take it seated. Like my religious studies classes, I will avoid any online classes, even if it's like the 100 level courses. And I've done that since freshman year. But if it's like a biology class where I don't think I'm too good at, I'm going to take it online. You know what I mean? And, I mean, it's definitely about how you learn. Like, I do not really learn online. I have to have someone like talk to me and me take written hand notes, or I won't really internalize the information. And I know plenty of people who have gone their college career with not taking one online class and have passed with flying colors, or there are people who are strictly online students and who love it. So it's really up to personal preference. But like what Blake said, your freshman year, maybe just give one class a shot if you think like, I might not, want to test the waters and see how I can learn with it. So
Also, another piece of that is like sometimes for like time reasons, sometimes people like to take one online because they're busy with either they may work or they may be involved in certain things or, you know, whatever the situation is there. And so sometimes like taking one less class seated kind of helps with like being able to get to other places that you need to be as well. Obviously your academics comes first, but also like sometimes we have other priorities below that as well. So.
Okay, so you guys mentioned like getting to other places, that kind of thing, and freeing up time. Can you talk a little bit about working on campus, like student employment, having a job through the university, and what that's like?
Can we say? Sure. Okay. Yeah, awesome. So we have a really great employment office, student employment office, I should say, right here on campus. There's kind of two pieces to that office. So there's our work study program and then just like our general employment or like non-work studies, so I call it. So our work study program is designated specifically to students who would like to work on campus that are also Pell Grant eligible. So you do have to receive that in your financial aid to be able to be part of the work study program. But what's great about that is there's like half the jobs set aside strictly for those students. A lot of it is like office jobs, or sometimes we have students who will be like research assistants, or people that will work like in our student union at like our shops and stuff like that. A university ambassador is a job, so you could be a tour guide as well. And then we also have like different programs and offices that work with the university but aren't. Like I myself, I work at our public radio station, which has nothing to do with the university, but we're housed here. So yeah, it's definitely very doable. Working on campus is different for everyone. For me, my mom kind of made the deal that I could go a semester without working, but then spring of freshman year is time to get a job. So you just go online and you just put in your resume and then apply to whatever you want to apply to. And then from there, it's kind of up to the people on campus what they want. But the really neat thing about that is like in the event you don't hear back after like so many applications, the employment office will actually help you land a job if you're not getting one just like off the bat. And a lot of it just depends on like what offices need what kind of workers and stuff like that. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, go working on campus.
We love it.
Okay, so something that we haven't touched on yet is Missouri State's Public Affairs mission. So maybe if one of you will give a quick recap of the 3 pillars and what the Public Affairs mission means to you.
Community engagement, ethical leadership, cultural competence. Yep. No, but I think that those are three kind of, I guess, generic terms that really kind of extend to all aspects of basically the day-to-day life. You can't be one without the other two, if that kind of makes sense. And what I think is really neat about this university is not only are they, helping you to become better students and better academically and everything like that, but they really want you to like become a better person, because I mean, not only like are you going to be carrying that with you for the rest of your life, but like you're going out into the world and like, nobody wants this world to be a bad place. So, I think that's something that Missouri State does really well is kind of, not necessarily like hammering it into you, but just kind of like delicately dropping those little, this is a horrible analogy. I don't know where I'm going with this, but kind of like dropping little seeds of wisdom and watching you sprout for yourself. Boom, there it is.
Great analogy.
But yeah, no, it's a wonderful way to kind of, I guess, prep you for the world to come, and that's out there. Yeah. Go Bears.
Do either of you want to tackle that?
I would just say I think that like you'll find yourself kind of falling into those categories without even realizing it. Like something I always say is like community engagement typically kind of falls into like community service, but it could also literally just be going out into Springfield and like exploring what's around you and appreciating it. Cultural competence, it's as simple as maybe getting to know someone that's different than you in any kind of way, or as far as maybe studying away and exploring a completely different culture that you're kind of immersing yourself in. And like ethical leadership, I think is like a personal thing, but also like a leadership thing. So it's just like, I think being honest with yourself and the other people around you and kind of like guiding in a very moral way, I would say. So yeah, I think it's the university's mission that we work off of, but I think it's also kind of like, it could be like a personal guide for you, if it's something that you're super invested in. So
absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, so where would each of you, I'll have all 3 of you answer this one. Where is your favorite spot on campus, either to study or hang out? Like, what would be the secret spot that you'd be willing to share with your friends who are watching?
secret spot.
Mine is definitely the fourth floor of Strong Hall. Strong Hall holds college humanities and public affairs. So that's where both my majors are held at. And really great thing about Strong Hall are actually there's a bunch of different flags, and you can see it in the front of the building. And those flags actually represent each one of the countries that our international students come from, or represents them. And every year we change it out, obviously. And but the fourth floor is like, it's not quiet a whole lot, but like that's where a lot of the upper division courses are held at. And so like a lot of people are like dead quiet up there. So it's a perfect place to study. They've got tables at each end. And I just like being able to like look out and like see all of campus. And I think that that's just like, it's really pretty. So it's pretty. So
My favorite place is the art annex. And that's part of the theater and dance department. Basically the art annex is a warehouse that they took all the furniture and stuff out of and gave it to us. So, you know, quite honestly, it doesn't really have any purpose to be a classroom space, but that is where I auditioned for the program. That is where, you know, every Friday within the first couple of years of the major, you have weekly meetings with everybody. And, you know, their first and second years, you like all convene there. I've had so many classes there, rehearsals for every show I've done. That place has truly seen my literal blood, sweat, and tears. And it's kind of like nice to be able to like kind of look over there and be like, oh, I remember like, I did that like right over there at that specific spot, and just like kind of like a nice way to kind of track my progress. And it just has a lot of special meaning to me.
I don't know. This question's always so hard. My basic answer would be the fountain. I think every student's obsessed with the fountain.
Beautiful.
you are really obsessed with it.
But
He
then
really is.
I post about it every day on my Instagram if you want to hit me up with a follow. But then I think my two personal would be either the SGA office, because I pretty much live there, or the practical newsroom in Strong Hall where the journalism students use, because that's kind of where we get to grow and evolve within like our broadcast news, like personalities and stuff like that. So it's really cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. So for those of you who are watching and for our panelists, it just turned to 5 o'clock. So I want to be respectful of everyone's time who's watching. So I think we've captured most of the questions that have been asked. But do you all want to give any final thoughts before we sign off for the evening? Like last advice, tips, a big all together go Bears? Anything exciting that you guys want to share before we wrap this up?
I would just say, like we've said, just be open-minded. Let yourself fall, like I said. It's not easy, like we've all said, but I mean, it's doable. There's so many other people that have done it before you, so you know that it's not impossible. But also just like, don't be scared to be yourself. Don't be scared to like worry about what other people are going to think. Don't be scared to call mom and dad. We've all done it.
Yeah.
I still call my mom all the time. I need advice about stuff, and I don't think I'm too grown to do that, So yeah, I would say just lean in, like I've said, and just be aware of what's around you. Take advantage of every opportunity that's presented. Even if you don't follow through with it, just like look at it and say, okay, is this beneficial for me? Does this work for me? What I want to do or not? But yeah, I would just say the university has so much to offer. There's a lot of random things people don't know about. I'll give a little plug to Study Away real fast. I studied away last summer, and so many students choose not to study away, but there's so much money there also. You can actually study away pretty cheaply if you do it right. So yeah, I would just say, just be aware of what's around you and take advantage of every opportunity. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, kind of, I guess, opposite of that, don't be afraid to say no when you need to.
Yes.
Because you will, if you haven't figured it out already, you're going to find out that, you are oftentimes your best and sometimes only advocate. So if you are just really beat after a long day, don't be afraid to tell your friends, hey, not tonight, or like, I really need to study for this. Know your limitations, but also don't be afraid to kind of push the envelope a little bit and see like, well, maybe I can join another club, maybe I can do that. Maybe I can run for president of this or whatever. But yeah, just you will take out what you put in, and just don't be afraid to have the time of your life here, because it's amazing.
I would say don't be afraid to be yourself, and you actually are, because you're going to find those people that will appreciate you for you and won't judge you for what you have done or what you've experienced. And I think that that's probably like the best part of college, is finding your people that like truly do care about you and want the best for you. And I also would say is don't be upset when you get that first report card back or grade card back, whatever that we call it, when you got a C or a D, I mean, you can retake a class. It's not the end of the world, but you know, everybody fails. Everybody has their hardships, but it's how you come out at the end of it is what's going to prepare you for the future.
Mhm.
So.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys.
Yes.
Thank you.
I feel
Yes,
like
thank
we
you.
need to wrap this up with a all together go Bears,
Oh my
and then
gosh,
we can
okay.
Yes.
turn it off.
Okay,
All right.
ready?
All right.
One.
1, 2, 3.
Go
Bears! Hey. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Carol.
Thank you.